Hello and welcome to another video and podcast from Fantasy Football Scout. It's team news time. We're looking ahead to Gameweek 12. We're gonna try and rush through these because the deadline is fast approaching. It's Tuesday. It's just gone past 2:30 and the deadline is 6 o'clock. So there's not much time to sort of get last minute preparation together. As usual, I am joined by team news guru Neale. Neale, how are you doing?
Not so bad, Joe. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good, thanks. I was trying to get some tweets together for the slides, and some of them were coming in just a few minutes ago. And there's some, as we'll explain later, because of the midweek fixtures, there are some later games where we don't have the latest team news yet because they haven't had those press conferences yet. But we can talk about them as we go. So, well, let's crack on. Let's just go through it. So we got Brighton against Nottingham Forest tonight, as well as Crystal Palace Wolves. So let's go for that Brighton fixture first. Brighton against bottom of the league Forest. Let's go Brighton. I understand that the manager's been saying that Lallana will play, definitely.
Yeah. The spirit of Marcelo Bielsa lives on through De Zerbi, who said that, Lallana's going to start. So not only just feature or play, he's going to start tonight. So who he comes in for is the big question. I've seen it speculated that it could be Pascal Gross, who we replaced at the weekend, or it could be Estupiñán with Trossard going over to left wing back, which is where he spent a lot of time under Potter. Could be someone else, of course, but that was one not so much a clue, but a giveaway from De Zerbi. Nice. Injury news is a bit more to report than usual. Of course, Jakob Moura, we know, is out long term, but Mitoma is out, who probably would have been on the cusp of a start. I think he's looked absolutely excellent.
He's looked very good in his cameos that he's come on.
He has, and he would have been probably a threat to Estupiñán, I think, down that left. So he's out. Colwell and Van Hecke are backup centre half there. Got problems as well, but Mitoma's the sort of significant injury, if you can call it that, on top of Moura.
So quite a few people are looking to bring Trossard in. So with Lallana playing, it's unlikely that I'll be correct in saying that it's unlikely that Lallana would place Trossard. It'd be more likely to be one of the midfielders or possibly even Gross.
Yeah, I mean, I bow down to yourself and Az's knowledge on this, but I'd be astonished if Trossard. I mean, didn't have his best game on Friday, but before that has been, really good for a sustained period going back to the end of last season as well. So I'd be shocked if that happened. I would think Gross or Estupiñán would be my two main contenders, I think, for a benching. For Lallana.
That's what I thought. I mean, I thought ahead of this game that it might be Mitoma coming in for Estupiñán, but that's obviously not going to be the case now. Nottingham Forest, Steve Cooper, particularly what's he been saying about Serge Aurier, because there's quite a few people hoping Nico Williams is playing, because
I'm one of them.
Blank fixtures this week.
Yeah, we really want that 1 pointer from Williams. He talked up Aurier no end last Thursday, I think it was, in his pre-Gameweek 11 press conference, saying how good he was and how much of an impact he had. And lo and behold, he was injured for the weekend. So I think there's still significant doubt about whether he returns or not. It's a muscle problem, and now muscle problems tend not to recover within 3 days, as it was, unless it was a precautionary benching. And the thing is with Steve Cooper, as we're finding out every week, and as Forest fans will tell you already, he does not give you much accurate teams information. In fact, he wittingly deceives, I think, on a week-to-week basis. So your guess is as good as mine as to whether he recover. If you were taking Cooper at his word, you would think that there's still some significant doubt. Whereas with Ren and Lodi, for example, it was an impact injury. He could be back in for this. O'Brien was out with an illness, so again, he could be back in. Muscular with Aurier's track record, then maybe he trusts Williams again for this one. But we never truly know. Still out, by the way, are Richards, Niakate and Colback for Forest.
Okay, before we move on to Crystal Palace Wolves, I just want to offer a reminder to everyone to subscribe if they're not subscribing already. It really helps to keep up to date with all the latest team news videos, but also many more videos that we got during the week. Also, do press that like button. It really helps us out. And a special welcome to all of those that have joined us early on in this live stream. Henrique Abelish, Sonic Avalanche, Avalanche. Good to see Sonic Avalanche here. Mark Kohas, FPL Focus, Joachim, Christopher, Tony B, Philip Appleby, West Down Trading. Philip, good to see Philip Appleby, West Down Trading here. Nuclear Atoms, Barry Walls, Caesar, Avalos, Sangarth, Pratik. I mean, there's so many of you. Thanks so much. There's well over the game on for 600 of you now, which is a lot early on. So it will build up as we go on. Let's have a look at Crystal Palace. Presuming my old friend Nathan Ferguson's still unlikely to play. What else has Vieira been saying about Crystal Palace ahead of their clash with Wolves?
Can I be rude and go back to Forest? Because I just want to give you exact quote on...
I'm back there now already. Already on the screen.
Can I give you the exact quote on Sergio? Because people may actually want it.
Okay.
So he did talk about his accelerated programme, international minutes, blah, blah, blah. The key line at the end was, it's a muscle injury, so we will see what today and tomorrow brings. So obviously nothing committal on that, just so you know what the exact quote was. But yes, back to Palace. Okay. Yeah. And I don't think there's anything fresh on Ferguson. I think they said, I think last week, that he's going to get games with the under-23s first before he's even considered. So we're still some distance from seeing him. We did get a few updates on other players. MacArthur's out for a considerable length of time, has been for a while anyway.
Yeah.
Richards is still out. Hughes is still out ill. Nathaniel Klein's still out as well for, I think, another week or so. So, but nothing new from the weekend.
Just going back to on Palace and their formation, Zaha was out wide. He was so far out wide, I thought he was in the stands at some point. He was massively ineffective. Edouard, not so effective either last time out. Do you envisage some changes up front?
Potentially. He hasn't got much to work with. I mean, the one thing he could do is, I think he'll bring Alicia back in for starters. Mm-hmm. Alicia is typically benched in away matches. Perhaps doesn't trust him as much off the ball, but I think he'll come in for this, particularly as he was bemoaning the lack of cutting edge up top. So that would be, you'd think, for Jordan Ayew, or Jordan Ayew drops back in the midfield. We did see, I think, Ayew and Alicia playing as number 8 and swapping right wing position fairly recently. The one thing he could do would be bringing Zaha centrally and maybe put Eze on the left, or bring in Mateta.
Okay.
But I don't think Zaha's in any danger of losing his place, even though he got subbed off.
I was suggesting that. I was suggesting more that could he be moved more central with, so that would be.
I don't think he likes it there. He said before he doesn't actually like playing there, but Vieira does. I think quite relish the prospect of him playing in certain games. It tends to be in the bigger matches. We saw him there against was it Liverpool at Anfield? Yeah. He was playing there. Played there against Man City. Yeah. So I think maybe not for a game like this, but
okay. Yeah. Meanwhile, Wolves, quite a few on the injury list, I understand.
There is. Let me refresh my... Yes, here we go. Yeah, Jimenez still out. There's not a return date specifically for him, but Steve Davis said yesterday that they hope to see him before the World Cup. I'm sure he hopes that too, with Mexico being there. There's 3 long-term ones as well, including Neto, who are out. Totti Gomez is freshed out for this, but I suspect he would have lost his place anyway because Collins is back from a ban, so he's been out for 3 matches. Totti Gomez has been... he's a 3.9 million starting defender, or was for the last 2 game weeks, but that's no longer the case now. Collins is back.
He could be on. These are the sorts of players that could be on benches. Everyone will know already because they've looked at their teams, but Arsenal, Man City are not playing this week.
Yes.
So you're going to have to go quite deep into your bench. You could be going Collins deep if you do have him. So this is why we're mentioning some of these more boring players, really.
You ever gone Totti deep, Joe?
No, I'm going to go... I don't know where I'm going. I'm going Neco Williams deep. That's pretty
I'm going
deep.
that far. It's pretty dire, isn't it, when you go on that deep?
Yeah. Okay, let's move on to the Bournemouth-Southampton totally made-up derby, because neither of them care about each other. Yeah. For Southampton, for those that don't know, Southampton, Portsmouth, that's the derby down this part of the neck of the woods. I'm not sure who Bournemouth's rival is. Weymouth, maybe? I don't know.
Town, yeah, could be.
So anyway, let's Bournemouth. I'm presuming Lloyd Kelly and David Brooks are still out. They're always out at the moment. But yeah, any other news from Bournemouth?
No, everything's as was. I think Stevens can't play because it's his parent club, but he wouldn't have started anyway.
Now Southampton, Bella Kotchap went off with he dislocated his shoulder. I'm presuming he's out then.
He is. You never really know with these things. As Hasenhüttl said himself at the beginning, he said he could be back on Wednesday or he could be out for 8 weeks. We've seen Traore had his shoulder popped in multiple times on the pitch and then run.
Hard, these footballers.
And then run straight back onto the pitch. But Bella Kotchap is out. It's been confirmed now and might be out for a while. They're still waiting on what the procedure is going to be, whether he needs surgery or whether they can avoid it. But I think weeks for now. Apart from that, Livramento is out long term. Lavia should be back in training towards the end of the week. An interesting line from Hasenhüttl. Walcott missed out at the weekend with illness. Had he not taken ill on the morning of the game, he would have started. Theo Walcott, 34-year-old Walcott, who was seen to be on his way out of the club in the summer, surplus to requirements, but has gradually worked his way back into. I think he's impressed in training, I've read, and he's going to be assessed for this one, so we could see him back in it. Coming to a starting 11 near you soon, Theo Walcott. Diallo's got an illness as well. So, but yeah, that's it.
Righty. Let's move on to Brentford Chelsea. I was in touch with the social media team at Fantasy Football Scout before this. We searched high and low for a Brentford quote that had anything to do with anything that we're interested in, apart from Thomas Frank's contract negotiations.
Yeah.
Could you find anything either?
Well, Jay Harris of Athletic fame is there, and he's the one who reported on the contract. And someone asked him on Twitter whether he had any update on Aaron Hickey, who was missed out last weekend with an ankle strain, I think. And he says, quote, an hour ago, I'll have an update on you for all the injured players very shortly. Now, so if you come back to me on that later in the video, I might have something from Jay Harris, but we're still waiting on, because there's no live coverage of this, no live stream.
Right.
We rely on reportage from local journalists. So we're still waiting on Jay Harris reporting on Hickey and co for Brentford.
Rightio. We'll come back to that a bit later. Remind me as well. And if not, do have a look at the tweets and Fantasy Football Scouts team news article as well that you're compiling ahead of the Gameweek 12 deadline. Chelsea. We have heard from Graham Potter though. What's he had to say?
We have. Thiago's fine. He was flagged 75% with like a muscular thing, but it's just more recovery. I think he's obviously a veteran of the game, and his recovery time will be assessed. I wouldn't be surprised if he's benched for this one, but he's injury free anyway. And of course, we knew already that Reece James is out long term. He's out till after the World Cup, domestically anyway. So yeah, he's going to be out along with Kante and Fofana, the other long term ones. But nothing new from the weekend, so all good.
Okay. Liverpool, West Ham. Now, we've heard from both of these managers. Some sad news for Diogo Jota in particular from Klopp today. What's he been saying?
Yeah, another one who's going to be out until after the World Cup, and of course missing the tournament itself. He would have been there with Portugal, but he is going to be out of that. So another one who's sidelined for a while. Diaz, of course. Luis Diaz is out there. Arthur is long term. Matip's still a little bit away, and Konate is not back in training until this weekend. So they've got a lengthy injury list. Keita, Jones, and Oxlade-Chamberlain, they're all back in training of some variety. Jones was on the bench at the weekend, but was only there because they had space, according to Klopp. He was never going to get onto the pitch. And all three, all three of those are probably going to need further training until they're really available. So. There was a line on rotation or possible rotation. Now, if you read my article on the site, I think it was last week, about turnaround times, you'll have realised that Liverpool and Klopp have been royally shafted. They've got the tightest turnaround, not only from Gameweek 11 to 12, but also from 12 to 13. So do not be surprised to see some bodies rested. He said today, we're going to need to look at that in general, which we always try to do. If we can consider it lineup-wise, then we will do that. We will see how the boys feel today when they come in, and full energy will be required against West Ham. So yeah, I think there'll be a handful of changes.
Salah would be safe, obviously.
Yeah, I think so.
Just because he's already had a rest a week or so ago.
I think
in preparation for this.
I think so. Yeah, I think you've read that right there. I think it'll be. I mean, you could still go with Darwin and Firmino. Darwin maybe on the left, or Firmino behind Darwin. That would mean Salah back on the right, of course. But yeah, I'll maybe expect to see someone like Carvalho come in for this. Perhaps down the left. Henderson probably in midfield. Trent as well is back. He was on the bench. Would Salah
be on the right or more central, do you think?
Well, I've just mentioned it there. If Firmino and Darwin play with Firmino and Darwin as the two, then Salah's on the right. However, Darwin can play off the left as well. So it could be Salah and Firmino central,
Okay.
Darwin off the left,
Right. Yeah.
and like Harvey Elliott on the right or something like that. But
Few people are interested in getting Alexander-Arnold in, some Robertson as well. Likely they will play. I mean, they've been out for a while.
yeah, I think Trent's obviously the likelier of the two in midweek because he was fit enough for bench duty.
Yeah.
Hadn't been out that long. So I would think he probably comes in for this. Robertson, I'd be slightly more concerned out because he's just come back from a month out. And they've got 2 games within a week. Sorry, 3 games within a week. All of them separated by less than 72 hours or roundabout thereabouts. So I wouldn't be surprised if Simicast starts one of the next 2, potentially even tomorrow.
Okay, right, yeah. So the West Ham defence they're up against is a little short of bodies at the moment. So what's been happening at West Ham?
Yeah, we think that's still going to be the case. We couldn't really get much concrete on Zuma and Dawson. There's still doubts. Zuma was ill. Dawson had a dead leg. Moyes did say that Zuma's done a bit of training, but didn't know for certain whether that's going to be enough for him to be declared available. Okay. Dawson, I'm still not sure about. I think he sounds even more of a doubt. Okay. So yeah, of course with Aguerd out and Cornier's out as well. Centre half wise, it was Johnson, Kehrer and Cresswell starting as a 3 against Southampton. They've got Ogbonna as well, but even he's had hamstring tightness in the past few weeks. So it could be those 3 again going this weekend.
Rightio. So that Zuma news put the cat among the pigeons for those looking to go Zuma deep on their bench. Unfortunately for them, Newcastle Everton. I think we've had both news from both their managers, which is great, but not good news from Eddie Howe for a couple of his more attacking players. So yeah, what's been saying about Isak and also St Maximum as well?
Isak's out until after the World Cup, so he's not going to be seen until game week 17. So that gives Callum Wilson a bit of a free run there. St Maximum is not quite as serious, but he's had a recurrence of a niggling hamstring problem that he's had for a while. As Howe said himself, that it's such a very, very minor irritation that it wouldn't ordinarily be an issue, but it's the 3rd time it's happened. So they're going to be extra careful than this time. So he'll not feature on Wednesday, and I doubt he'll be involved in game week 13 either. As you were, I think, Darlow, Kraft, Richie still out. Shelby was back on the bench, not fit enough. He's not going to be available for starting just yet. Shaw should be fine. Eddie Howe said that he's got again, much like a few players, he's nursing a niggling foot problem, has been for a while. Initially said Fabian is fine, and then ended the sentence with, I think he'll be fine. So introduced that element of doubt as his mic dropped.
He's a player that if you're going that deep in your bench, play him because chances are he hopefully will start, but you're not sure.
You hope, but yeah, I do remember the last 3 game week, Newcastle rotated both their centre halves for the middle fixture. Mind you, that was at Liverpool, so he was preserving some bodies, I think, for that. But yeah, we started with, I think, Lascelles and Byrne. I think that's right, or Lascelles and Botman, and then rested the other 2 in that last 3 game week. So just be prepared that Howe's got previous for a bit of tinkering.
Okay, Everton, Lampard. There's, I mean, there were quite a few players out over the weekend, but players coming back. I saw Calvert-Lewin on the pitch, which is Did I imagine that? Did I see Calvert-Lewin on the pitch? It's one of those things.
He did see him, lumbering about. He's not quite, well, I say he's not quite ready, but I think he might. Lampard was sort of indicating that he might get a start in one of these 2 games that's coming up in quick succession. He did stress that they've got to be careful with him in terms of training, and I don't think he's training completely fully yet, but he was involved at the weekend. He did come on against Spurs. He said it's a fine balance to want to get him there as quick as possible, but he said it's getting to the stage where when you think you've got 2 games in 3 days coming up, we can hopefully get more minutes out of him. So potentially he gets to start in one of the next 2,
okay,
or at least a half. Yeah. Anthony Gordon is back as well. He had a 1-match ban. Some people might have him on the bench. Yeah. Holgate's back in the squad. He'll be on the bench. Patterson's still out. So if anyone did have him and was hoping against hope that he might be
been and gone with that.
Yeah. Yesterday is new.
Rightio.
He's still out along with Townsend, Godfrey and Mina.
Okay. Manchester United Spurs. Now Ten Hag is giving his press conference at 3:45.
Yeah, ridiculous.
So we're a bit before that. So do have a look at Fantasy Football Scout on Twitter. We'll get all the updates from that as and when. So that will actually come in. I put the time up on the screen, 3:45. That is. That gives that'll give you, if you've got Manchester United players or considering getting them in, you've got a bit of time to decide on that, get some news there. Meanwhile, we do have some news from Spurs, who are Manchester United's opponents. Kulusevski, could he play? And I understand that Richarlison could be out.
Oh, Richarlison's definitely out. Yeah,
definitely
he's not out for the World Cup anyway. That's one good bit of news. But he'll not be involved here. A calf problem, a bit like Jota, not as serious. Emerson Royale's banned as well for the last game of his 3-match suspension. He returns in Gameweek 13. Kulusevski, as you said there, still in some doubt.
Oh, okay.
They're going day by day with him. They're not going to risk him in with many games still to come between now and the World Cup. So I think if he does make the squad, he'll be on the bench at best. Now, there was an interesting quote about formation. So we assumed, having introduced Basuma against Everton and that working really well, the 3-5-2, that he would do that against Manchester United. That's, by the way, that some Geordie on Twitter, fellow Geordie, is criticising me for calling Manchester United when Newcastle are also United. So that's for his benefit. So he again reiterated that 3-4-3 was his preferred setup, listing Ivan Perisic as someone who could play in the front three. And we did actually see that, I think, briefly.
Oh, okay.
So we would have assumed normally that Basuma would come in, Kane and Son up top. Now he's saying that it could be Lucas, could be Gil, and it could be Perisic in the front three as well. So an interesting out of position prospect.
How is he with mind games? Because
I did think that.
Why would he say, "Oh, I'm going to play a 3"?
Well, I know that was my initial thought as well, because I think previously he talked about the 3-5-2 about a month ago, and then went and played 3-4-3.
Right.
So he could be doing another rug sweep, which wouldn't surprise me.
Okay.
So I'll see what O'Keefe and co make of it this afternoon for the predicted lineups.
Because his ahead of the Brighton game, the Brighton manager Zerbi was saying that he anticipated 3-4-3. All his preparation was that they were going to play 3-4-3, and then Spurs came racked up with their 3-5-2, and it completely threw him. And he was saying afterwards that he got his tactics wrong because he didn't envisage a 3-5-2.
Yeah.
So it clearly worked. Conte would have known that. And
I wouldn't be surprised if we did see Basuma start after all that talk of that was my initial thought as well.
Yep. Okay. Fulham Villa. So I've got a big picture of the team news, live updates, because we haven't got any team news for them. Is that correct?
That is correct, yeah. So Fulham, Villa and Leeds, their press conference will be tomorrow, we think, after the deadline, which is fat use. I can tell you what we do know already on the team news front. So Fulham, Chalobah still suspended, and we think Tete, Solomon and Kurzawa are still out. Mitrovic did say after the match last weekend that he wasn't completely fit. He lasted 90 minutes, but he said he was still in pain, taking painkillers, and he said, this was his quote, he still hasn't completely recovered. Okay. Now the good thing is that I think it's 5 days between the matches. It's Saturday to Thursday, so that gives him a bit of extra time to shake off that foot problem. But just be warned, not that you can do much about it. And not many people will have the luxury of a first sub in Gameweek 12. But there is a possibility that we get more bad news tomorrow from Silva. But he did last 90 minutes anyway.
There'll be a lot of fantasy managers pretty annoyed with him if he doesn't turn
up.
Just play through the pain, mate. Play through the pain.
One more game.
Take your week off next week.
Yeah, exactly.
But this is not the week to be in pain.
I know it's sod's law, isn't it? That there's something like Madison and James are dropping like flies when we needed them the most. Okay. I think that's it for Fulham. Villa, Mings is newly flagged as of the weekend.
I was going to move on to the Leicester Leeds one there, but go for Villa,
Yeah, so we know that I think Digne, Augustinsson, Kamara and Carlos are still out. Mings was flagged because he took a knock to the ankle towards the end of the game. Gerrard said after the match that he thinks he'll be fine. But again, there's 4 days in between the games and stuff can flare up. Something that might have seemed innocent at first might be more serious. So a slight concern over Mings there.
Okay. Right. Leicester against Leeds. So this time I am going to put this up. So we haven't heard from Leeds yet. Once again, their press conferences after the deadline. So, we're not going to get anything there. But Brendan Rodgers has been talking. And, of course, the big news there, we already knew that James Maddison kindly got himself suspended exactly when we all needed him in the 94th minute. And he managed to rack up 3 yellow cards in 3 games. absolute idiot.
That's Hall of Fame trolling. To have done
that's
it.
absolutely
The
classic.
icing on the cake being the 95th minute dive.
Yeah.
Was,
and diving as well. So
yeah.
So it's not even as if it was, harshly given or anything.
Yeah.
He was just anyway.
Yeah,
So what else has been happening at Leicester?
Yeah, we have, as you said, we've heard from Rogers today. Evans is out of this, so he was majored out. We didn't think he'd feature, and it's now been confirmed that he'll miss out. He'll be assessed again at the weekend. Soyuncu, who's been out in the cold anyway, is also majored out, probably out with a knee problem. And that's it, we think, on the injury front, apart from the long-term ones like Pereira and Bertrand.
Okay.
So it's just who comes in for Maddison, whether it's Perez or Albrighton, or whether he introduces Iheanacho.
Yeah. Do we assume that Daka starts, or could Vardy get a start? Do we
think? Vardy could definitely get a start. I think between Gameweek 12 and 13 is an even tighter turnaround. I think it's one of those that's sub 72 hours. So I think between those two games, I think there'll be one starter each for Daka and Vardy. I couldn't tell you which one which, but no.
So
I think
nervous wait ahead for Daka owners and anyone with Jamie Vardy in their team, but more likely to be Daka because
I suspect so.
Might be in some teams there. Let's have a look at just the page where we round up what we know so far, and a reminder to please do subscribe and do press that like button. Really helps us there. Gameweek 12 fit to play. Holgate is fit to play, but probably going to be on the bench. And share at Newcastle fit to play, but we don't know. Is that questionable? Aurier. Dawson and Zuma, I'd put them under questionable as well.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
Kulusevski, it should probably be under questionable, but it didn't sound like he was going to start.
No.
But he might get some minutes, so he's sort of questionable stroke majored out, and then out. There's a big old queue there. Sionchu, Evans at Leicester, Diaz at Liverpool. Presumably Matip's still out. Matip is still out as well.
Long gone.
He's well out. Isaac, Newcastle. Bella Kotchap, his shoulder. At Southampton. James, Maddison suspended. Jota's out long term, and so on. Matoma as well, so he's not going to get a start even if he was on anyone's benches there. So a few names, and of course Royale at Everton is still suspended. Spurs is still suspended. Fingers crossed for those with Doherty, those going Doherty deep. In game week 12. Neil, thanks so much for joining me. Good luck covering those rest of those press conferences after the deadline, which is kind of them. Do everyone look out for those articles and forthcoming tweets on Fantasy Football Scout to get all the latest there as you look ahead to game week 13 as well once the deadline's passed. But good luck for game week 12. Only a couple of hours to go, so good luck. Thanks a lot, Neil.
Thank you, Joe. Thanks for watching, everybody.